I would say let's give examples from the, let's delve into it in Nostra Aetate, and it is from the three levels that we talked about last time. This is a statement, and it's not a constitution.
Yeah,
So can you explain that?
Yeah, well, when we talk, the Vatican Council produced 16 documents. There were 4 constitutions. And just like any constitution, they are the guiding principles of whatever you're talking about. And there were 4 major constitutions that the council developed. They're the 4 most important of the documents. There was one on the church itself. What is the meaning of the church? There was one on divine revelation. There was one on liturgy, and there was one on the church in the modern world. Which of the 4 of them was the most controversial, because what it intended to do was to try to establish what the church's role in modern society would be. And again, that's something that the church in previous years would never have considered, because of the defensive stance that the church had always taken, especially after the Protestant Reformation. Okay? So you have those 4 constitutions. Then you have documents called decrees. Okay? And then the third category are declarations. Nostra Aetate and the document on religious freedom were considered to be declarations. Not so much because they were worth less, but because these documents were known to be controversial. They contained controversial statements. But with the idea that even though they were controversial, they were open-ended to be discussed over and over and developed. They were not fully developed, obviously. So it's not so much of the importance. In fact, what was, I think, very significant, when the council started in 1962, the documents now that we have on non-Christian religions, which was Nostra Aetate, the document on religious freedom, were all part of the decree on ecumenism. Ecumenism being the term used to describe the movement towards Christian unity. So if you understand that they moved from, over the course of 4 years of debate and discussion, that these documents moved from being included under the cover of ecumenism to ending up as separate documents in and of themselves, which were to be discussed and to be challenged and to be developed.
So it's interesting that that became one of the most important documents that came out of the Second Vatican Council. This Nostra Aetate really started as a declaration, which means that the conversation about it was not mature yet, which is it's an interesting point in itself. Why wouldn't it be mature enough? But we're talking about not long after Second World War, and of course the church is revisiting its tone. Not even, of course, some of it's rhetoric, but it's even the tone. And that's what it's doing. The interesting thing that we also talked about today is that how I feel like in the relationship between the church and the synagogue, let's call the Jews the synagogue, the church kind of revisited its theology too in the process of Second Vatican Council. But in terms of the outcome of the relationship between Christians and Jews, the Jews did not change any theology, of course, here in the relationship. We didn't revisit the theology, but we very much so revisited our culture and our cultural, in a sense, you know, there's a thing called homophobia, and there's a thing called Christophobia, and, you know, other things. So I think those changed in the relationship. That at least in the last 2 decades that I've been doing most of that, I would say that the atmosphere, when 20 years ago, when you talked about interfaith relationship in the Jewish world, especially in the Orthodox world, it wouldn't be that popular. Now, it's becoming very popular. So, well, at least relatively.
And I think we can see in the actuality, the repercussions of Nostra Aetate and the document on religious liberty in a real existential moment today have taken on a world of their own. They have come forefront, and you can understand that in the United States especially, the discussion that's going on about religious liberty. All right? We thought we had it kind of together 60 years ago, and we're realizing there are more elements to this. There are more ways to try to understand and interpret it. Obviously, in the relationship between Christian and non-Christian religions, what has become very, very influential in that discussion, obviously, is the political. And, you know, for example, when the document of Nostra Aetate first came up at the council, there was a movement among the bishops not to deal with the Jews. The part of the disagreement came from traditionalists, which you would understand, very ultra-traditional Catholics. But the other element of caution came from the bishops from the East, the Middle East and the Far East. And the reason being was that these bishops were living as minorities within areas and countries where the majority was Muslim. And so what happened is the Muslim population obviously did not want the church to get comfortable with the Jews, all right? And so the bishops themselves thought politically this was not going to be a very good move if the church came out with a document on the Jews.
Without including other faiths.
Well, not even that. I think that
just coming out with the discussion about this.
Because of we know today, the conflict between the Muslims and the Jews, that's always been going on. I mean, we hear today the concern, for example, for Christians who are living in Islamic countries, right? And the concern for, and sometimes not even Muslim countries. You take places like India and so on and so forth, where Christians are actually being persecuted. So this whole process is nothing new. But you see why they're called declarations, because they're constantly being challenged. And in being challenged, they're being refined. All right? So that's kind of where things are right now.